Hey, good weekend, everybody. This is Bob from Trade Genius. I'm here with my partner in crime, Phil Clever. We're going to talk crypto. It's the 9th of April 2022. Already one third, I guess, no, what am I saying? Only 25% of the year gone here, but things are moving fast. And I want to get Phil's perspective here. I know we're going to try to talk every week if we can to talk crypto, and if there's something more interesting, we'll talk more, and if there's something less interesting, we'll talk less. But looking at it from the macro standpoint, from a guy looking in from the outside, we see that the stock market kind of had a bit of a run here, maybe a dead cat bounce, maybe a bear market rally, maybe the start of something bigger. Crypto seemed to have gone along with it. This week we were kind of stalling out again on the stock market. We're 3 weeks away from, I think, a seminal event with the Federal Reserve. They are looking to go to QT. They're looking to end their balance sheets. They're looking to actually sell off their balance sheet. They're looking to raise interest rates 50 basis points. I mean, some pretty dire stuff. Liquidity will be drying up. And I'm just wondering, you've seen a little bit of softness in the crypto space for the most part. Today looks like a bit of a bounce from the last couple of days, but I want to get your perspective, Phil. Looking, basically let's start with the alts because we won't spend too much time with that. Are we still in the alt to BTC bull market? And then we can get into talking BTC, and then we can just talk in general what you see over the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, so I definitely think the Fed and the effects of the Fed are being felt. And as with most things, when we have a surplus of liquidity in the system and it starts to go away or slow, then things at the end of the spectrum tend to, or the outer edges of the risk spectrum tend to come in first. So I think that's why you're going to see like altcoins and things like that continue to come down, especially in terms of value with Bitcoin. So yeah, we were gonna bring up the alt chart and we were gonna show you guys kind of where that cycle is, and then we're gonna talk about the price action as it's been developing since we've had our last couple of podcasts, and give you more short term, since we covered longer term views on that, more of a short term lookout or outlook, I should say, on price. So we'll bring up the alt chart here. That. So, like we were showing last time, we had a couple indications that price was about to turn, and then we did get our confirmation once we broke above the trend man, which held. And we've been kind of chopping lately. There's been a lot of tokens that have been struggling to really get any kind of trend going after this initial move here. And I think a lot of this up move that's being, and this is representative of percentage of market cap. So I think Ethereum's had been doing the heavy lifting and some other tokens, but the broader movement hasn't been as trendworthy. So a little bit of a struggle here. I think part of the problem is that Bitcoin, if we look at what Bitcoin's doing, this is a daily chart of Bitcoin. And basically, what I have here is this red line is the daily 144 simple moving average. And then this blue line is the 20 period weighted moving average. And the reason why I have those two up is because a lot of times we'll see extended moves when the 20 crosses over that 144. And what you don't want to usually see is when we poke above the 144 like we did recently here in a rollover. Because quite often that's just confirmation that we're in a bearish part of the cycle. Not that you can't make money during those times. You just have to understand that your buy and hold strategies probably aren't going to be generating returns until we get past this portion of the cycle. And you can see in the past, like normally, if I see that happen here, this happened back in August, we had that cross up, price holds above the 144 and then continues higher. Eventually rolls back over, back tests it, and then makes new all-time highs. So those are important crosses. And when they fail like this, then to me that indicates a real lack of strength in the market, and just confirms that yeah, we are in that post-halving peak time period, which has been very consistent with the halving cycle or halving price cycles, and we could expect to see lower. Here's another example. This is back in February 20, actually right before the COVID crash, which affected every market everywhere. We see the cross up here. The 144 holds, so that's very key that the 144 holds after that cross up, and then it moves back up. And then COVID started to happen. And I think we were having some underlying issues in the markets anyway. COVID just exacerbated that. Then the Fed came in and just pumped everything to high heaven, which is where we're at now. This is where the Fed stepped in, printed more money than ever in the history of man, and everything went up. So it'll be interesting to see where investors kind of contract to as the liquidity does leave the system. And the most recent Fed minutes confirmed that that's going to really start in May at the tune of, I think it was 90 or 95 billion a month. Correct me if I'm wrong. So instead of adding that much, because that's how much more or less they were buying in treasuries every month. So not only has the treasury purchases stopped, right, which end up turning into dollars into our system, they're not going to be adding back, or basically taking and selling back the assets that they had given money for. They're not going to be asking for that money back and giving these assets back to like the banks and things like that. So we're having like a reverse of what we've seen over the last year and a half. So you have to be mindful of that and understand that yeah, the markets are probably going to give back a chunk of what we saw in the last year and a half, because mostly this, especially like this stuff here, is a direct result of the Fed and their money printing policies. So you just have to be mindful of that, and it also coincides with a typical seasonal cycle from the halving peak. So you kind of have a double whammy there. And I don't want to get too bearish, and we'll get into kind of the structure here as we go forward, but you just be mindful of that, especially if you're more of a buy and hold type of person. So here's another example too. In the March timeframe of 2019, we had a cross up of that 20 over the 144, and that is actually, this is the one we're looking for to happen later in the year, and you get a very strong move after that cross, because this is the one that basically marks the cycle lows. Okay, so we're not quite there yet. If you look where we are here on the chart, that might not happen until we see, maybe one of this type of move consolidate, and then right around this time of the year into Q4, you see something like that. It could be sooner than that. We could have a truncated cycle like we talked about in the previous podcast, but all things being equal, this would be very textbook to see happen. So we'll just have to see how things play out. But that's my large picture, is that we don't see higher swing highs, and we would see like this last swing high would be basically a lower high kind of in this post-halving drawdown, and then we'll see another push. So we'll have series of moves up, right? We've been moving up over the last couple of weeks, and that'll continue to happen. It's just that we won't be making higher highs until we get all of this out of our system, okay? So that's why this current drawdown was kind of important. I said that, I think last week, I said it's kind of pivotal to see what happens here, because if that 144 did hold, then and buyers started coming in, then we could say, okay, well, maybe Bitcoin's decoupling from risk on assets and starting to do its own thing. But this is a great technical picture of that not happening. And then you can see in the past, when that doesn't hold, that one break back above the 144, generally we see more downside. So this is 2017. You can see that too. I believe we're somewhere similar to where we had a pushback up in February of 2018. We had another one in the April of 2018. And this move up was similar to those. In February, we broke above the 144, tried to hold it, and then we failed and rolled back over. And then the same thing happened actually in July too, similar thing. So our most current price action looks really close to what happened there in July of 2018. And then if that is the case, then maybe we only have 3 or 4 more months of consolidation and it starts to take back off again. But I don't really get excited until I see that 20 WMA cross up that 144 on the daily chart. So that's something that you guys can keep an eye on as well. But the cycle is much different, I think, and anybody, a lot of people are going to take examples from the previous couple of cycles. I think we've talked about that. It's just a really small sample size. I try to identify things that have happened more frequently, that have a larger sample size to kind of use as a reference. I mean, the asset's only 10 years old, so we only have so many reference points. But some of the daily stuff like this cross here has happened a number of times, and you can look at that with a certain degree of probability to tell you that where we are, and confirming what part of the cycle we're in and what's coming. So that being said, coming down, over the next course of the next few weeks, if you look at the daily chart, we're heading right into the 50 SMA, which is below us here at approximately 41,828. Okay, so that's our next level of support for Bitcoin, and that'll be also seen in the price action of alts and things like that. If this level doesn't hold, then we're probably going to be testing into this lower range, which I got this green box here, but essentially, for those of you listening, from 45.5 basically down to 37K, right? That's a big range that we've fallen back into. We were clearing it once we failed the 144, we fell back into. So typically, the way I look at these ranges is that if you fall back inside the range, you're probably going to end up testing the other side of the range. Okay, so and that works up and down. So if you break back in it, let's say, and the range is above us, then you look for the retesting the back to the top of the range. But in our case, we'd be looking for a move back down. So that would take us all the way down to low 37 if this 50 SMA on the daily doesn't hold. And just be aware that that can happen. Again, if you're looking for more longer term swing trades, this is kind of another critical spot that we need to see hold this week. And if it doesn't, then I think we're heading down to that 37 level. We could see that later in the week or maybe into next week. So that's kind of the short term outlook right now that I wanted to convey. And if this doesn't hold, then I think you're going to see alts. And I think that alt season chart probably rolls back under that trend line. And we'll probably see this continue to trend back down and take out these prior lows, unfortunately. So it's just part of the cycle. You just got to know when to jump in and jump out right now. And that's what we're doing right now with the signals going out. It's just kind of an in and out type of strategy until we find a floor that we can get into for a longer term move up. So that's about it.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, can I put you on the spot for one chart?
Yep.
It's a dollar pair. It's KNC, and on the 2 hour. One of the things that Phil has done, and those who subscribe to our service, they get access to an indicator that he has called the trend band, which really is really good to help you understand the direction, and also the fulcrum helps you understand whether you're consolidating, falling, or moving higher. And so one of the things that flagged on my system that was interesting to me, that it had a pretty good move here yesterday, and pulled back right into that support area, and then we got what we know as internally as a heat buy area, and just to get your thoughts here. Do you think maybe potential ABC short-term ABC pattern here, maybe for 5 to 10% move, or I'll let you just speak.
Yeah, I think if you're, obviously you don't want to be buying when the heat is solid color like this, because that's basically telling you it's overbought, and so that's not your ideal location. Typically, you want to wait for a pullback, and you do typically get those when the heat does get solid like that. You see how you get that pullback there, and the heat's solid here, and you get a pullback here. So you're seeing essentially the same pattern repeating here. So yeah, you would look for the trend band to be supportive, as well as you also have some support here on the chart as well down. So we're looking at like 360 to 370 on the chart, $3.60 to $3.70 as being supportive. And typically too, over the weekend, when we get away from the CME close, which is the 5 p.m. Eastern price mark, so we can actually mark that off here. This is just a little tip, is that, nothing's 100%, but if you look at when we closed, so we closed going into the 5 p.m. print, let's call it. Okay, so that's up there. $4.08, almost $4.09. So typically, if you drop below where the CME closing price was, so the CME is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, if you don't know, and they control the futures markets on things like the U.S. equity markets, like the S&P 500, Dow Jones Index, the Russell, and the Bitcoin futures, right? So the Bitcoin futures close at 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And if you mark that price off on your charts, and it doesn't matter if you're looking at the BTC future charts or just your favorite, exchanges price of like Coinbase's Bitcoin price, it's a point of reference that price tends to get back there, and it's Bitcoin that's driving that primarily. But these coins will follow. Like Bitcoin fell from that level, and so did KNC. So if Bitcoin's rallies back into that come Sunday evening when the futures markets reopen at 6 p.m. Eastern. So this is a good setup for that. Now, could we see more weakness today into tomorrow? Sure. But that would be the play I would look for, is to set up and try to get a swing, especially since we're swinging back into support here with the trend man on the hourly, and getting back up to that 408 level into the close tomorrow. If that doesn't happen, your stop's probably going to just be under the swing low, so your risk reward's decent here. If that doesn't happen and this does roll over, that means Bitcoin rolled over, and we'll end up with a gap from Friday, a gap down, which is significant because that's a real lack of strength there. So, but yeah, this KNC, if you look at it on the daily, has been one of the stars here. This one has taken advantage of that trend band chart, right, where we started to turn and cross up above. Like a lot of alts are struggling. This one is looking a lot like that index. So they've been, and this is a token that has a lot of volume too. So this is a good one to trade for sure, 100%.
Oh, super. Anyway, thanks for that, Phil. I really appreciate it. And guys, hey, Phil, we're coming up on our 20-minute mark here. So I think we'll just kind of hold it from here. And, if you guys want to, learn how to trade cryptos, so you could join Trade Genius. You can contact us, check out our bundles. We have specials going periodically through the month. And also, if you don't want to join the service, but you want some training and you want to understand how to do this better, we have education classes, and also we have education packages on crypto that Phil authored. And Phil's background, he's been doing this for a long time. He was a miner of Bitcoin in the very beginning, and he was able to effectively parlay in a good acquisition strategy on his own personal Bitcoins by using the techniques that he's sharing with you guys here, and he applies it to his everyday life. So he definitely knows what he's doing, and he walks his talk. So if you want to check us out, go to tradelikeagenius.com. Ask for training by Phil, or join the service and join the crypto room, and you'll love it. And I'm not half bad myself, so if you want to trade stocks with us, you're welcome. And we also trade the futures market. So with that, I'll bid you guys a great weekend. Phil, thanks so much for doing this with me, and we'll catch you next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, super. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Bye-bye.